welcome to this episode of Evo Inspires. Today, I'm lucky enough to be sitting down with Chris. Tell us about yourself, Chris.
Great to be here. My name's Chris Hagan. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Pathify. So we sell an engagement hub, which is a fancy word for a portal and a little bit more, backed by a middleware which connects into a number of systems around an higher education technology system. So we're a little over 120 customers, anything from big 4-year research institutions in the United States down to lovely little faith-based or community colleges in Australia, Europe, Canada, America. We employ in Australia and Ukraine and America, and my IT department runs across all of those locations.
Awesome. What's the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were first starting out?
It's actually the same one I give people when they come into my interview process, and I continually reaffirm as I teach them about leadership. He said there aren't any wasted steps. May do incredibly well coming through knowing that you're going to be a top-notch software developer, be a computer scientist, get perfect marks in all of your classes, get hired as a graduate, fit right in. You might. But I have some absolutely incredible men and women working for me who came out of fields like being a personal trainer, being a drama teacher, being an art restoration expert. The technical skills and mental fortitude required to pick pieces of varnish one stitch at a time out of a huge oil painting turned out to really transfer well to paying complete attention to pull requests and being the most minutely focused and dedicated reviewer I've ever seen. I've had a lot of people come out of education. I've had people come out of things like paramedicine. Because fundamentally, as you grow through your various careers and stages, what you are learning is about yourself. And the tool that you're going to bring to work and you're going to apply to the situations there is you, first and foremost. Your emotional management, your intellectual management, your drive and your sense of how to collaborate, how hard to focus in on a problem, when it's time to throw for help. This will often get you a lot further than knowing all 9 ways to sort a bean tree. I'm not scorning academic learning by any means, but the person that you can bring to work when you choose to come to work is something that you're developing throughout your whole career.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that made a significant impact?
I'm going to tell you a bad one, which reflects really, really badly on me. So I'm interviewing at ThoughtWorks.
Sorry.
And I'll tell you how pivotal it is. I'm still wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Right. 15, 20 years later, I have kept this.
Yeah.
So I've interviewed at this company. It's a big group interview. I'm a self-taught programmer at this point. I've come out of kind of psych nursing and I've taught myself to program, and I've showed up to a group interview despite not having a degree, and did pretty well. I was already writing code in a number of languages. I had some work under my belt. I do that interview, I get called back for a second interview. I get called back for a third interview, fourth and a fifth interview.
Wow.
I really want this job.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to, at this point, I feel like it's falling out of my grip and I can't work out what's going on. I go and get a haircut and I decide to put some shoes on Yes, I've gone to 5 interviews in a row not wearing shoes. And I buy a suit, and I turn up looking like James Bond for the 6th interview. And I'm walking down the street to get coffee with the managing director at the time. And we're sort of just making conversation. And I say to him, you don't seem to know why you don't want to hire me. He looks at me and says, oh, we know. We know. It's because we think there's a very strong chance that you're an asshole.
Wow. Okay.
He's like, we've had our best people on it and they've come back confused. You know, like, he's good, he's friendly, is he, what is he? What's the problem? And I'm like, look, I hoped that turning up to this interview with, all this, what I intended to signal to you really clearly was I know I wasn't paying attention, but I realized that as a consultancy, you need to be able to say, to fit in and represent properly. And I realized I was failing to show you that I understood that sometimes you got to rub blue mud in your belly button, and turn up on Sundays, right? Like, and I said to him, this is top flight computer science consulting. Would it have mattered that much? Are you really telling me that there aren't any assholes in your organization? He said, not on purpose. Like, okay, I'll take that. I will take that and I'll plug that into my core value system of how to build a company for the rest of my life. Try really hard to work with people who you want to be friends with and try really hard not to work with assholes, no matter how smart they are.
Yeah, that's definitely
something I hear a lot. You know what you end up with, Fraser? You end up with this Cybertruck.
Yeah. How do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Well, anything which can have a go-to tactic, like the thing that you do next isn't even a setback, it's just you progress. Right? If there's a predictable move that you've got to make, then that's not something which strategizes. But in terms of strategy, I really think that the defining characteristic of the successful leader is your ability to pivot. I think that having decided that you're going to move on something, when something gets in the way, you have to be able to pivot and continue as hard as you were. That said, I think that that's only half of the problem. I really think that it is an insufficiently recognized skill to be able to reverse a decision.
Okay.
I think that decision inertia is a massive problem. In IT, all projects are over budget. All projects are over time. Right? Think of a number, double it, then triple it again. Why? Maybe it's because we never unmake a decision that we already made. Having decided that you're going to go for something, you just keep on going, and then it's harder, and then it's less valuable, and then the technology didn't support you. And sometimes that's worth it because you get to the moon. Sometimes you really should have stopped and gone, let's not fall for the bus stop fallacy here. Let's just accept that, we've got to stop and go, that was a wrong decision, go back to zero. So I'm going to balance two contradictory answers here, and this actually is the job of the leader to decide, am I going to relentlessly pivot through the challenge, or am I just going to go, that's actually on the new evidence that we have in the new situation that we are, we shouldn't even be trying for that at all.
And then owning that.
And own it. Yeah. Be explicit, be declarative. One way to do it is to say up front, these are the conditions under which we will review whether or not this project should go ahead.
Okay.
Some people bury that in pilots and spikes and things like that, but it tends to be true that once you've sort of proven the technical piece, then they go, all right, let's roll on. And often I watch people roll their companies off a cliff on just a disastrous, why are we still doing this? You know, Windows Phone. Where you're like, come on, man, give it up. Give it up. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And so much money.
What have you learned about leadership development, sort of particularly in guiding and mentoring other leaders within your engineering organization?
So I have 3 chief engineers, and one of them is significantly younger than the other 2, and she's also a tremendously talented woman. The other two are men. And she comes in with an enormous, ferocious talent, but also a great deal of uncertainty. You know, she sees other people acting with real assurance. And she's not sure how unsure she should be able to feel.
Okay.
Not sure when she should be able to ask for help, when her position is being challenged, or whether this is just an interaction, a normal collaborative interaction that she's having with people. And I've certainly had the same thing when I managed or led people who were much older than I was. When I was 25, I was running 55-year-old consultants, and, you know, often their mode would really leave me going, oh, you know, is this just a straight up mutiny, or are we having a conversation right now?
Right.
So what have I learned about it? Probably the most important thing is that if they think that I am implacable and doubtless, then they will hide their vulnerability from me.
Okay.
And if they hide their vulnerability from me, I won't get a chance to reinforce, encourage, support, correct. And they'll build that core of doubt until finally it propels them off the path or into another company or into a disastrous interaction, because they couldn't tell me what was really going on. You know, it's the bully in school who's secretly wondering, you know, how he feels about that other boy in the showers, or whatever it is, right? Like, he's behaving just in a totally wrong way because there's a thing inside him he can't work with.
Right.
So I would say, as a leader, showing the people that you're trying to mentor and nurture that you also are vulnerable, you also suffer from insecurities, and what's that syndrome that is I think I shouldn't be here?
I know what you mean, yeah.
That's annoying. It's to get it out of here. Anyway, see, sometimes I can't remember the word that I was going for. But if you don't show them the vulnerability and you don't show them yourself working through it, it's really hard for them to be vulnerable back to you. And a specific piece of advice that I give and that I model is that I'll come into a conversation where I think this might be a bit of a confrontation. You know, 2 of my chiefs are fighting right now. Like, this one wants to use database calls into the other system. This one wants him to use API calls into the other system. We had an agreement about this. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. And I'll come into the conversation and go, I'm not sure how to handle this one. You know, I'm worried about this conversation that I'm about to have. I'm afraid I'm about to have a fight with you. I'm afraid you're going to come back really, you know, lit up, and we're going to end up just sort of clashing and hurting our relationship and not getting anywhere. Help me have this conversation properly, because here's what I'm trying to do. Right. Okay. And that vulnerability doesn't surrender your seniority. It doesn't make you less. You know, you don't have to be a fist-pumping Elon Musk on the stage and incorruptible. Yeah. It's perfectly okay to be a human being and vulnerable as you work with people towards a solution.